Hello, and welcome to the Flagman presentation, Horses on Flags. We are, of course, very familiar with horses. Some of the more popular images that we maybe relate to, the chess piece, the knight, is definitely in horse shape. The carousel and the rocking horse. So horse as a concept is something that we know a great deal about and is definitely embedded in our culture. If we today look at horse images on flags, we might begin with the flag of the Czech town Pardubicz. And what we see on the flag of Pardubicz is the image of a horse, in this case, what we might consider to be half a horse. And the story behind the reason that this was adopted as the symbol of Pardubicz is that during the siege of Milan by the Holy Roman Emperor Barbarossa, a Czech from Pardubicz accompanied the emperor to the siege of the Milanese, and the siege was somewhat successful because the city was captured for the Holy Roman Empire, but at a cost. The town person, a famous townsperson, leaving Milan with loot and plunder, had the portcullis, the protective bar gate of Milan, come down and slice his horse in half, which he continued to ride for some distance. And this, of course, brought about the myth of the famous rider in the company of Barbarossa, and hence the reason for the half horse on the flag of Pardubicz. We notice horses in many particular movements, whether it be a trot or a canter or a gallop. Sometimes the depiction is of a horse rearing. In any event, all of these particular attitudes or positions of heraldic horses do appear on national and corporate flags. We take a look at coats of arms, which by their details involve usually supporters, one on each side. In this case, the supporters are horses, and this is for the University of Ottawa. The University of Ottawa is referred to by its team name, the GGs. Their colors are garnet and gray. And the GG is the first horse out of the starting gate in a particular race. And so the University of Ottawa has adopted that particular term for its sports teams. This is the coat of arms for the nation of Nigeria. And we can see again the use of horses as supporters. And in the case of the province of Manitoba, we see on the one side the horse supporter, on the other side a horse-like creature, mythical creature, the unicorn. The state of Pennsylvania, from the time 1778 during the American Revolution, adopted this as their coat of arms. And we can see that the supporters in this case are identical black stallions, and they are prominent on the flag of the state of Pennsylvania. A close-up of one of the supporters. The Ford Motor Company in unveiling its model, the Mustang, in the mid-1960s, adopted the symbol of the galloping horse as its corporate seal. The fashion designer, Ralph Lauren, and his line of clothing, Polo, of course, sport on horseback, but the particular insignia of Ralph Lauren Polo. Black Horse Ale, a brand of beer beverage. Lloyd's Bank has used the symbol of the horse as its logo. And White Horse, the Scotch whiskey product, also has the adoption of the horse. The brewery Holsten, which we find in Hamburg, Germany, has used, in this case, not just a horse, but a mounted knight. And this is something that we're going to see repeated on several flags. The American University, the Southern Methodist University, found in Dallas, Texas, has used the Mustang, the galloping Mustang, as its symbol. Which we see here. And in the Canadian Football League, the franchise in Calgary, the Calgary Stampeders, also have the galloping Mustang as their particular logo. At one point in the Canadian Football League, there was a franchise in Baltimore, and this team was referred to as the Baltimore Stallions, winning the Grey Cup at one point. In the National Football League, the team in Denver, the Denver Broncos, with a stylized horse head image, and the Indianapolis Colts, also an NFL franchise, originally based in Baltimore, moving to Indianapolis, but retaining its horseshoe symbol. The symbol of the rearing horse dates back to the Baracca family. This was their logo in the Italian province of Emilia-Romagna, and ultimately adopted by the Ferrari car manufacturer based in Maranello. And this is the work of Enzo Ferrari. And of course, the famous achievements on the track of the Ferrari Corporation. However, the Italian war ace in World War I, Francesco Baracca, was the first to use his family symbol painted on the side of his aircraft. And here we see a picture of the Italian ace, Baracca, and the statement about his achievements in World War I. The American Union, the Teamsters, the National Union of Transport Truck Drivers, originally together in the beginning of the 20th century. But notice the horseshoe symbol, but also the head of the horse within the shoe itself. And Teamsters began as drivers of teams of horses. We can see this photograph again dating to the early 20th century of Teamsters. If we take a look at prehistoric times, we would go back to the caves in southwest France at Lascaux. And here we can see some very early depictions of horses and how important they were to those primitive cultures. Ancient Greece, also very much in tune with the use of horses, especially to pull the chariots. What we see here are the gods Zeus and Hera with their chariot, horse pulled. Ares and Aphrodite. And Phaeton, the son of Helios, with his particular chariot and his challenge of the sun, to the point where Phaeton's chariot was overturned. And we see this depicted in classical painting. The Greek mythical hero, Bellerophon, and his contest with the monster, the Chimera. Bellerophon was greatly assisted in his feats by Pegasus, the mythical horse, which we see was adopted by the Mobil Oil Company as its logo. And we did bypass the Ferrari rearing stallion. Team Ferrari. This is Pegasus, and another depiction on a Greek urn. Greek mythology also, of course, includes the heroic tale of Troy and the use of the Trojan horse during that battle. We see a reconstruction of the Trojan horse. In Norse mythology, we have the Norse god Odin and his use of the horse in horseback, mounted horseback, of Sleipnir. In Christian mythology, from the biblical account of Revelations, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, whether they be war or famine or death, we in fact see these are all plights that befall mankind, and character death. The unicorn character, the creature, mythical being, the symbol of Scotland today, the understanding was that it has Christian symbolism because it was deemed only tameable by a virgin maiden, and that ultimately it was to be hunted and sacrificed in much the same way as Christ himself. And so we have some classical depictions of the unicorn. In English literature, medieval literature, the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight come into play with mounted horsemen. And Lady Godiva astride her steed. The Bayeux Tapestry depicts the Battle of Hastings in 1066, the Norman conquest led by William the Conqueror. And we see here Normans mounted in their battle against the Spanish artist Picasso and his rendering of the attack on the Spanish town of Guernica during the early stages of World War II by the Luftwaffe. Here we see within many of his paintings, anti-war paintings, depictions of innocent horse figures. The Saxon from Saxony, steed. This is a depiction of that horse figure at the University of Hanover. And this particular depiction, a rearing horse, is going to be found in very many of the coats of arms and symbols for towns and duchies in Saxony itself. So we begin with the electorate of Hanover. And this is an area of Lower Saxony that existed from 1692 until 1814. And it ultimately became a kingdom in 1814. But Hanover is of interest to us because with the death of the British monarch Queen Anne in 1714, without an heir, the British throne was transferred to the House of Hanover. And so we have in Britain many suggestions of that personal union between the Elector of Hanover and the British monarch, who were in one and the same thing, beginning with George I. And here we see the first of the Georgian kings, George I, and his personal standard, which we have an example of. Here, indicating as the British monarch, in the top left quadrant, we have the kingdoms of England and Scotland. In the top right, the English claim to the French throne, which had been the case for many centuries. In the bottom left, the Irish symbol. And in the bottom right, we have the symbol of the House of Hanover with its distinctive quadrants itself. In the top left, the symbol for Brunswick. In the top right, the symbol for Lunenburg. And in the bottom, the horse figure, the Saxon steed, in this case representing Westphalia. And a close-up of the Hanover coat of arms. The British ensign that was in play during the reign of George I and George II, and ultimately up until 1801, George III. We can see the Queen Anne's flag, the red ensign, but superimposed over the Jack, the Union Jack, is a rectangular House of Hanover symbol. And here we see a close-up of that. In Ontario, the University of Guelph has associations with the House of Hanover. The city of Guelph itself is referred to as the Royal City because of its connection to the Hanoverian monarchs. But we can see in the insignia for the University of Guelph, the mounted steed in the crest portion of the shield for the university. That is the Saxon steed, the symbol of Hanover. And in the city of Guelph, the flag for the municipality has not only the three crowns suggesting the Hanoverian monarchs, but also the Saxon steed, which we see in the middle of the flag. The German province of North Rhineland and Westphalia. We can see that on the left side of the coat of arms is the symbol for North Rhineland, but on the right side, we can see the symbol of Westphalia, the Saxon steed. And here we have the symbol of Hanover as a rearing horse, And totally on its own is the symbol of the electorate of Hanover. And the symbol of Westphalia. Number of British military regiments, and one in particular from Canada has used the horse symbol. This is the symbol of the West Yorkshire Regiment with its galloping steed, and the regimental colors of the 8th Regiment of Foot. And in Canada, the Governor General's Horse Guards uses the symbol of, if we look carefully, a unicorn. But it's interesting that a regiment referring to the Horse Guards would adopt a unicorn symbol. But here we have it. And the symbol of Lower Saxony, and the symbol of, actually the flag with its symbol of that German province. This is the old Saxony flag dating to 700, and we can see the use of the black stallion. The Duchy of Lauenburg from 1296 to 1803, again a duchy within the present-day province of Lower Saxony. And here we see the modern version of Lauenburg's coat of arms. And the black stallion refers to the use of the town of Hereford, which was the place of origin for the Saxon king Witikind. Here we see Witikind in battle with the Frankish king Charlemagne. And this is a battle that occurred during the 8th century and very much involved the Christianization of the Saxons by Charlemagne. This is the symbol of the town, the province of Hesse, again using the black stallion. And the symbol that's used by the city of Stuttgart. Stuttgart being a very industrial and 4th largest city in Germany, began as a place where horses were bred. And so we have the name of the city, Stuttgart. It means literally garden of stud mares. And so here we have the city seal. And the Porsche Motor Company is based in Stuttgart. And we can see in the symbol, in the middle of their symbol, is the prancing steed. This is the flag of Stuttgart. With its pronounced black stallion. We turn our attention to the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and their use in their coats of arms and flags of a figure called the Dithmarschen, who was a mounted warrior in conflict with the Teutonic Knights during the 13th century. And so we can see this character and a repeated form mounted on a white stallion. The seal, this is of Eric Abelson during the 13th century, who was the ruler of the Duchy of Schleswig-Holstein. And you can see he's mounted as well and in combat. So that when we get to the coat of arms of Lithuania, which we see here, this is a character referred to as the Vitus, or a mounted knight, in combat with the Teutonic Knights, who were trying to impose Christianity on the Baltic states, in particular Lithuania. And so we have the flag of Lithuania with the character Vitus. And the interesting thing is that the same character appears as the figure Pahonia in Belarus. And so very, very similar. And yet not particularly adjacent. The symbol and coat of arms for the former Soviet Socialist Republic, TAVU. And so we're talking about the beginnings of a movement to the Far East, and yet the mounted horse still comes into play. So that in mythology again, we have the character of St. George, who is the patron saint not only of England, but also the nation of Georgia. He also is the patron saint of Ethiopia. And so here we see the depiction of St. George and his mythical battle with evil and Satan. St. George does appear on the flag of the city of Moscow, the capital of Russia, because St. George is the patron saint of Moscow. And so here we see the flag of the Russian city. The depiction of St. George. And yet another saint figure. This is Saint Martin of Tours. And his image appears on a great many shields of municipalities in Europe. Here we see one and another. And on the flag of Nula, which is a town in Lower Saxony, Saint Martin of Tours is the central figure. This is a depiction of his, as a Roman soldier, removal of his cloak or robe and passing it on to a character in great need. So this act of kindness is what sets Saint Martin of Tours apart and caused his canonization. The close-up of Saint Martin of Tours on that flag. And we're looking here at a time period referred to as the Reconquista, an attempt by Christians in the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, to drive the Moors back to North Africa during a period of 300 to 400 years. And this is the efforts of the character Geraldo Giraldez in the 12th century. And he is depicted on the state seal and shield of Evora in Portugal. And here, a depiction of the efforts toward the pushing back of Islam to North Africa. This was all done, according to myth, with the assistance of some divine intervention in the form of St. James, in this case mounted on a white steed, assisting the Christians in their conflict with the Moors. And again here. And St. George, also making an appearance at the Battle of Alcaraz, assisting Peter I of Aragon in 1096. And at the battle at the El Puig in 1237, this is James I of Aragon. So that the white steed, which we first identified with the Electorate of Hanover, actually predated that time, because it was being used in that area, but in particular in the present-day Netherlands. The city of Twente has as its symbol the rearing white steed, which ultimately makes its way to England as a result of the Anglo-Saxon invasion of England and the contest then against the Celtic Bretons, so that this is the symbol that would have been brought across the channel to what we now know as Kent. So the symbol of Twente on its flag is here. Flag of Twente. And consequent flag of the county of Kent, we see here. Both the rearing white steeds. This is the arrival of the rulers, Saxon rulers, in this case, Hengist and Horsa, who were the first of the Angles to arrive in England and do battle with the Bretons in Kent. And here you can see just in that bottom right section of the graph, the flag with the horse as a symbol. This, of course, is the location of Canterbury in the county of Kent, and Dover, where the passage would have taken place and their arrival in Britain. Throughout England, we have some depictions of some very, very mysterious beginnings. This is the horse of Rohan, and this is the symbol that, as seen from the air, of this prehistoric, trying to date it to a particular time, but crafted on the landscape and quite visible from the air. This is in Offington in Oxfordshire. Some very famous historical figures that are portrayed as mounted. This is, of course, Joan of Arc and the Siege of Orleans. And Napoleon Bonaparte and his particular steed. This is Simon Bolivar and Palermo, his horse. And that horse becomes very significant in terms of the symbols of Venezuela. This is the coat of arms prior to 2006, when the dictator Hugo Chavez determined that this was not proper to have the Bolivar stallion facing the fly portion of a flag. And so he opted to change that coat of arms to its present form. And that present form, you can see in the top left corner, the canton of the flag. The horse, in this case, Bolivar's horse, is in fact heading toward the hoist portion of the flag. So this was a correction that Chavez made. And this is the adaptation, the revision, and this is the present day coat of arms. Oliver Cromwell, the figure during the English Civil War, putting together his Commonwealth of England, Scotland, and Ireland in the mid-17th century. George Washington, seen here mounted, leading his troops in the American Revolution. The figure of King William III. This is William of Orange, who with Mary ruled England as Protestant monarchs, replacing the Catholic monarch James II in 1690. This is a figure of Catherine, the ruler of Russia, and a monument to the American president Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, in New York City. And again, a statue form of, this is the British military commander, Wellington, the Duke of Wellington. And in Toronto, the memorial statue to Edward VII. So we have some events as well that are depicted in poster form, this being for the very famous race, the Grand National, and of course for the Kentucky Derby held in Lexington, Kentucky. And they have most recently adopted this as the flag of Lexington, Kentucky. And the event, the Epsom Derby, which we see a poster for here. I think that's a pretty good tour of flags that have employed a horse symbol to suggest, I think in most cases, a military situation. But as we've seen in some of the German localities, their connection to horse breeding is the reason for employing a symbol on their flag. Again, thanks for your attention. See you next time.